So think of having all of your education, employment records, certifications, licenses, and so on in the same kind of format that can be shared digitally from your phone as easily as presenting a boarding pass at an airline, at an airport, and then being able to have the employer or background screening body be able to verify that within seconds.
We're recruiting about 3.5 million candidates that we're touching at any point in time through our recruitment process, but we are onboarding about 100,000 individuals a year. From offer acceptance until we've cleared a colleague, we're running anywhere from 7 to 14 days. And again, a lot of that is compounded. Those longer times tend to be the more credentialed colleagues that we're trying to bring on. Where we find the most variability in those processes is largely in those employer verifications, right? Trying to get a hold of former employers, verify that the dates that are submitted on a resume are accurate. And then obviously the education institutions as well. Our CHRO, Jen Barris, has said, can we imagine a day where we could onboard someone in minutes, right? So, and really think about that and let that settle in. We could literally, push a button to onboard that person within an hour.
And so the experience for a candidate is their smartphone pops up and says, would you like to share your credentials with PreCheck, CISO? And they can decide, it's self-sovereign. So they can decide what they want to share and what they don't. Yeah, we're seeing over 90% of the people that we ask say, yeah, I'm interested in receiving my credentials. Absolutely. That's seeing a great deal of interest around these consumers, job seekers and new hires for HCA wanting to own those.
The resume has always been somewhat of a marketing document, right? And recruiters and hiring managers all know you need to take what's on a resume with a grain of salt, right? You have to have skepticism, right? That's always been the case for as long as the resume has existed. What's changing now is with generative AI and agentic AI is that there is something making up information to align somebody's experience with what the job requires. And this is done without the candidate's knowledge. So while the candidate might market themselves in a certain way, might bend the truth a little bit, with agentic AI, it's being done without any of their interactions or knowledge. And so what our customers are seeing is an explosion of candidate applications that look very qualified for the role. But as soon as they start to talk to the candidate or dig into the information, they realize that it's all fake and generated, and often the candidate doesn't even know that they're oblivious to this. So
we're seeing a lot more of our organizations, our clinical organizations that are hiring our new graduate nurses wanting to do on-the-spot interviews at recruitment events and on-the-spot offers. We know on average that our students are applying for 3 jobs at the same time. We do know that. And it usually is the first to offer is the job that they go with. And so we want to give our clinical partners that we work with very closely, we want to give them a competitive advantage at recruiting and hiring our students. So this would definitely give them an advantage. We want to be able to provide our students with what they want. And they do. They want to be able to control their lives from a device, and this allows them to do that. We have a mantra at Galen, early and often. If you want students to use something, you got to get to them early, and you have to remind them of it often. And now we're going to include it in their very first orientation before they start school with us. We're going to remind them of it as they're going through their program at different intervals. That way, they opt in to allow their digital credentials to come into the wallet so that they can share it with employers after they graduate.
And so I think on the employer side of the house, kind of this call to action for other employers to really join in exploring this as an opportunity.
don't be fearful of how much information you may have to learn about this to get involved, because a lot of the early work and early adopters have done that kind of plowing of the field the first time. So it's much more approachable.
At the end of the day, it's all about the patient in the bed. And I know that that's what my big concern is, in making sure that our output, which is the best nurses that we can graduate, are getting the jobs to take care of those vulnerable populations.